These are some of the craziest things that were recently discovered. Just last year, archaeologists in Lima, Peru came across a mummy that was bound in ropes in an underground tomb. It's estimated to be up to 1,200 years old, as rope binding was a traditional part of the local funeral process around that time. A linguistics study recently found that winter workers in Australia have started to develop an entirely new accent. This is a result of them being isolated and in regular contact with only each other for several months. In the early 1900s, British explorer Percy Fawcett theorized about an ancient lost city called Z that was somewhere in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. But he was never able to prove this myth since he vanished in 1925 during his third attempt to find the city. However, thanks to recent LiDAR technology, scientists have been able to digitally peel back part of the Amazon rainforest, revealing an extensive urban settlement that was heavily populated for many centuries. These areas are very difficult to excavate since they're very deep in the jungle, but scientists believe that within the next 10 to 20 years, our historical perception of the Amazon will completely change. Just last month, archaeologists examining a newly discovered ancient Egyptian cemetery found this lid on the coffin of an ancient priestess. It's clear that whomever arranged for her funeral wasn't prepared to pay top dollar for her burial. The internet has also pointed out that the image closely resembles Marge Simpson, even though the coffin is more than 3,000 years old. Last year, a perfectly intact 1,500-year-old arrow was discovered nestled between some rocks in Norway. The research team thinks it was encased in ice, then transported downslope as the ice melted. An amateur diver exploring shallow waters near Israel recently discovered this 900-year-old iron sword. Experts believe it belonged to a crusader knight before he lost it overboard during a fierce battle in the 11th century. An incredible discovery was recently made during renovations at a church in Naples, Italy. Behind a 16th century painting called Life of San Severo, workers found a hidden painting depicting St. George slaying a dragon. An ancient Egyptian stele from the sunken city of Heraklion was recovered from the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea earlier this year. Heraklion was once the largest port in Egypt over 2,000 years ago until it was destroyed by natural disasters over time. The incredibly preserved slab is made of granite and includes information about ancient taxes. This tiny species of mushroom that looks like it belongs on another planet was recently discovered in Taiwan. No one has tried consuming one yet, but the internet thinks it will allow you to see God. For decades, it was believed that the first humans arrived in North America around 13,000 years ago. But fossilized footprints recently found in New Mexico provide evidence that humans were actually here much earlier. Scientists found 60 footprints that are between 21,000 and 23,000 years old, indicating that humans occupied southern parts of the continent some 10,000 years earlier than archaeologists and historians previously thought. Scientists have found an 18,000-year-old mummified puppy in Siberian permafrost with its teeth, nose, and whiskers still intact. DNA testing has not been able to determine whether Dogor is a wolf or dog, since it's possible that he represents a common ancestor to both. Last summer, a massive drought in Texas uncovered some fossilized footprints at Dinosaur Valley State Park, most likely belonging to a theropod called Acrocanthosaurus. The prints had been covered by water and sediment for over 113 million years. This incredible video shows archaeologists opening an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus in front of a crowd of people. The coffin contained the body of an ancient priest and had been sealed for over 2,500 years by this point. More than 100 old books, manuscripts, and documents, some 1,200 years old, were recently discovered in the attic of a church in Romania. The trove hadn't been touched in hundreds of years and contains lost information about Transylvania and its history. The internet went absolutely nuts when archaeologists discovered a 1,500-year-old Mongolian mummy that was wearing boots resembling red Adidas trainers. Here's a 2,000-year-old Roman silver dagger that was discovered last year by an archaeology intern in Germany before and after 9 months of careful restoration work. In Tokyo, a massive ceramic jar containing thousands of coins was recently found in a 15th century home that once belonged to a samurai. A new geoglyph was discovered last year in the Nazca Desert, and it's the oldest one in the region. The 2,000-year-old artwork was overlooked for so long because the lines were badly faded over the years. But emerging AI technology is making it easier for archaeologists to discover new geoglyphs like this one. This newly discovered species of spiky crab was recently found in the depths of the eastern Caribbean Sea. Scientists estimate that about 90% of all life in the ocean, up to 10 million different species, still remain undiscovered to this day. In her famous diary, Anne Frank originally wrote many explicit details involving her lady parts, menstruation, and pleasuring herself. Her father, Otto, cut those parts out. John Harvey Kellogg, one of the Kellogg brothers who invented breakfast cereal, advocated for sewing silver wires through boys' foreskins to prevent them from masturbating. In 1969, Yoko Ono released a film entitled Self-Portrait, consisting of a 42-minute shot of her husband John Lennon's semi-erect member. Following its initial screening, the film was never shown again. Often referred to as the father of vegetarianism, Sylvester Graham shunned alcohol, white bread, meat, and lust. He popularized whole grain food products and originally invented the graham cracker in the early 1800s to stop people from masturbating or having sexual desires. In 1851, Graham died of complications from an opium enema at the age of 57. Willem Dafoe has such a massive willy that after filming the 2009 psychological thriller Antichrist, the director had to cut the scene showing Dafoe's member and reshoot it with a body double, because it was so large that everyone in the room was confused. But Dafoe wouldn't have fared so well in ancient Greece, since based on historical evidence, back then smaller packages were far more desirable than massive hogs. Large trouser snakes were seen as a sign of lust and degeneracy, while little dinky winkies were seen as a sign of self-control and civility. This is why many Greek statues have tiny schlongs, while evil figures from mythology are often depicted with hammers. French President Félix Faure died of a stroke while receiving head from his mistress. William the Conqueror smashed his nuts so hard on his horse's saddle that it gave him an awful infection which he died from a few weeks later. Priests later tried to stuff his body into a stone coffin that was far too small, causing his corpse to effectively explode. Victor Hugo, author of Les Miserables and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, was a raging sex addict. After his wife got tired of having intercourse with him up to 9 times per day, he slept with so many prostitutes that on the day he died, all the brothels in Paris were closed because so many prostitutes took the day off to mourn him. 2 million people attended his funeral, and Paris experienced a mini baby boom 9 months later. George Washington had such severe hemorrhoids that sometimes he couldn't even ride a horse into battle and had to be pulled on a cart. The Italian painter Raphael, who inspired the name of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, is said to have died from exhaustion brought on by non-stop intercourse with various women. Ancient Egyptians held a fertility festival each year where it was the pharaoh's job to strip down and rub one out into the Nile. Once he finished, men in the crowd were encouraged to step forward and join in, turning the Nile River into one massive circle jerk. Benjamin Franklin reportedly had a big thing for gilfs. He once wrote a long detailed letter to his friend telling him all the benefits of having an older woman as a mistress. His reasons included they are more thankful for the attention, they're more adventurous than younger women, they are experienced and need not be trained. He was also very clear that the face ages, but the downstairs does not. 1993, Ron Jeremy played Mario in a corno that parodied the video game franchise. It's called Super Hornio Brothers, and Nintendo owns all the rights. Anton von Leeuwenhoek was known as the father of microbiology. The first thing he ever put under a microscope was his own man milk, which led to his discovery of sperm. Before this, there were some rather questionable theories as to how babies were made, including the belief that trouser gravy contained really tiny humans that were transferred to the woman during intercourse. Anton fully expected to see tiny babies in his population paste. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. conducted a psychological warfare scheme known as Operation Wandering Soul. The Army played creepy sounds and voices through loudspeakers to represent the spirits of dead Viet Cong soldiers. Here's an example of a recording.